this is Roger Green, host of the Surfing the NASH Tsunami podcast. This weekend, we're offering 5 conversations from episode 7, our review of the new AASLD NAFLD practice guidelines with Ken Cusi. Plus, from the vault, conversation 59.3 from season 2, in which we discussed a then-recent article from Jeff Lazarus and Jörn titled Advancing the Global Health Agenda for NAFLD. Ken Cusi starts this conversation by asserting how important it is that both patients and providers be educated on the solutions that are available today, ranging from effective diet modification to bariatric surgery and anti-obesity and diabetes drugs. Louise Campbell notes the pivotal importance of allied health providers, notably nurses and dietitians, in supporting these guidelines, given that the allied providers offer more frequent and extensive contact points to patients than physicians do around some of these issues. This prompts Ken to share some exciting news. The American Diabetes Association is in the process of creating a consensus statement that will recognize NASH formally as a condition associated with diabetes. He reveals that he is chairing a committee working to create a consensus statement on this subject, which is consulting with an array of contributing stakeholders, notably including representatives from the dietitian, diabetes educator, pharmacy, obesity management, primary care, and hepatology communities, among others. Ken expresses his optimism for the momentous energy and convergence of fields in an unprecedented effort to combat fatty liver diseases collectively. Jörn adds that such collaboration will drive stronger patient advocacy and better education around the specific questions that physicians and providers should be hearing from their patients. These new practice guidelines represent one more positive step in the ongoing process of creating standards for how to diagnose and treat patients living with NAFLD and NASH. This episode explores the next major publication in the ongoing stream of new information and education, and an important one at that. So, sit back, listen, enjoy, learn, and when you're done, join the dialogue on our LinkedIn discussion group. So, Ken, what do you think this will mean for patients, having this guidance out there? Will it make a difference? How will it make a difference?
Ken Cusi.
Number one is you hear from all these pharmaceutical companies doing direct advertising. What I would love patients is to learn that there are options today and ask their doctors, what are my dietary options? When should I be doing bariatric surgery? What about treating my diabetes with medications that can provide health to my liver? What about pharmacological management of my obesity with GLP-1 or now soon a dual agonist? We can't wait any longer. We need to do this now. And if any patients here, I would be very happy to ask their doctors. That in the United States, pioglitazone costs $5 a month. GLP-1 costs, $1,000 a month. But if you have insurance, they would be covered. Your doctors are also beginning to understand obesity as a disease, not like a lack of will kind of pattern. It's a chronic disease and treatable. Again, for those who have not followed this literature, if you lose significant amount of weight, 5 to 10% of your total body weight, that has a huge impact on reversing or halting steatohepatitis and probably fibrosis. And pioglitazone, and there are 6 studies now that have been fairly consistent in its ability to prevent steatohepatitis. So the time is now, and I think these drugs will be combined with the drugs that are coming out and that we're going to talk in future programs, right, Roger?
Yeah, so Ken, I'm waiting for you to show up at a major medical meeting and putting stickers on people's lapels saying "Learn to love pioglitazone."
Oh, I've made them already. I have a box of stickers.
I can see it in your future. Okay.
Maybe you do. Louise Campbell.
For me, we miss something slightly. Not all patients interact with physicians. What I don't see here is how we get this to the nurses and where we get that co-morbidity management, because more people will interact with their nurses more frequently with their doctors. So when we talk about these guidances and guidelines, we really need to be looking at getting them to the front line of where patients actually feel comfortable talking. I've obviously had the experience in hospital recently where the member of my family, every time the doctor fronts up, says, "I'm fine." My definition of that was, all right, tell the doctor how fine you are on a score of 1 to 10. Oh, that fine's probably only 7. That reframed the entire question that the doctor asked. But I know to say, you're not fine, define it, because otherwise we're not there. And my concern is we're not targeting some of these guidances to the awareness in the people who really need to know them and can upskill doctors doctors and professional colleagues, but also dietitians, psychologists, and really work their magic. So I'd like to see a little bit of more structure between the drug companies and these guidances getting to other areas, not just physicians and GPs.
I have some breaking news for them. Roger, you want to the people get the latest and greatest. Well, the ADA is very active now. Well, the ADA in 2019 just added NASH as a problem of diabetes, and this year they expanded in January. You should go all to the standards of care. Their comorbidities, they expanded the fatty liver NAFLD section, and we are now going to create a consensus statement. I'm chairing that committee, and we are going to invite dietitians, diabetes educators, all pharmacy representatives, primary care, hepatologists. So we're going to create a large consensus around all the stakeholders so they are educated among this. And dietitians and nutritionists are going to be playing a big part in this. Also obesity management leaders. So we expect that maybe by summer the ADA will come up with a very detailed approach to NASH.
Not quite in time for the ADA meeting, huh? But almost.
I'm pushing the people. We are all very excited, and we have a very good group of people. The ADA is aware of the problem as never before, and I went with a bunch of stickers to the ADA meeting, and it's working. So we are going to have a very strong guidance and support for the efforts that our European peers are doing, and all over the world, and AASLD and so forth. So I think momentum is gathering. But again, these things take patience.
So, Jörn, you started to say it was very exciting. Keep going.
Jörn Schattenberg.
No, it is very exciting. And again, I think, it's aligned with this guidance and then the activities that Ken has just been detailing, that it will bring the disease awareness up. It will empower the patients to, identify with their disease and actually vocalize to their physician, as Louise said, vocalize and say, I think I have advanced fibrosis. What is my risk of advanced fibrosis? And that will help patients. They'll know on what to focus and which questions to ask their physicians, in particular if it's detailed in easier languages. And I think this is also something that's crucial. Now, this guidance is very technically more from AASLD, more towards physicians and peers, but there will be parts, and I think the activities Ken just mentioned on, the outreach and the information, there'll be a lot of opportunities to also provide more plain language and explanations of what we're looking at here.
So I've got our friend Stephen Harrison in the back of my head right now. And the Harrisonism I've got at the moment is meet him, greet him, and treat him. And since that was the phrase Stephen used to describe the duration and depth of a primary care visit, I'm kind of wondering how this is going to translate into that, right? We're asking people to absorb new information, add tests.
Well, what I think is that this guideline, and again, we want to congratulate the effort that Maru Rinella as a leader and as everybody else did. They have bullets of what to do. They have a statement in the table 7 says off-label use of approved medication for comorbid conditions, recognizing there's no FDA-approved drug. Our primary care doctors are using left and right semaglutide, which is promoted in the guideline because it has the only large GLP-1 randomized controlled trial with biopsies before and after. Pioglitazone has a number of studies that I think this audience will be familiar with. Vitamin E can be considered in select individuals, particularly without diabetes. Their long-term effects are still waiting, but many in the audience, or when I give a question, ask me, what about metformin, or statins? Metformin, great diabetes medication, but doesn't have a major impact on steatohepatitis. Statins should be used almost always, unless they can't tolerate them for some reason. But statins should be used, again, in people with more advanced or decompensated cirrhosis. The benefit has been less, there's less experience, but they can be used in people with compensated cirrhosis. These are all things that can be done now. The primary care doctors are doing it, but I think when patients and their doctors know that there is a liver problem, the liver has a big emotional component. So I would encourage all the listeners to go out with this message and make a difference in the people that they're seeing every day in and out.
And now, back to Roger.
We hope you've enjoyed this recording. If you have any questions or comments about the content of this conversation or the entire episode, please put them in the review section of the page from which you downloaded this conversation, or send an email to questions@surfingnash.com. We will be back next week to discuss digital therapeutics and apps and their place in health practices in the U.S., the U.K., and other countries. Until then, stay safe, surf on, and we'll see you on the podcast. Bye-bye now.